Alright, all you Rob Zombie haters, your time is here. Today, I want to talk about what Rob Zombie's Halloween movies got wrong. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Nick here, and today I want to talk to you guys about Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, and more specifically, what those movies did wrong, or did poorly. Now, I'm sure some of you guys were salivating. You couldn't wait. You were hoping that I'm going to rip these movies to shreds. And I'm not going to, but I am going to be objective here and give you a handful of things that I think he just did not get right. Now, I think there is no better place to start with this video than the most obvious misstep of Rob's two movies, and that is clearly Ghost Mom. Bringing back Deborah Myers in Halloween 2. Look, huge fan of Halloween 2. Massive fan. Second favorite Halloween movie. I know some of you guys are probably like, what the hell? This guy's on crack. Maybe. But I can't defend this. I cannot defend Ghost Mom. It is unnecessary. Look, I'll defend the white horse. I actually will. Rob explains it at the very beginning of the movie. It's very clear what that thing means, and that is very much symbolism. And I think it's symbolism actually used quite well to kind of explain Michael's mental state. But Deborah Myers, totally unnecessary. Now, of course, it obviously feels like a ripoff of Friday the 13th, like, oh, the killer is being led by mommy to do these things. But even more so, it's unnecessary. It adds nothing to the movie at all. Michael was going to go back to Haddonfield and go after Laurie no matter what. He didn't need Ghost Mom telling him to do that. And then furthermore, it's just an excuse to bring Sherry into a movie again. Like it really is. I love Rob, but it was just an excuse to bring your wife back. And her performance is just not good in this movie. It's so wooden. It's so lifeless. Now, yeah, she's a ghost. She doesn't have life. I mean, come on, let's be real. I actually liked her in the first one. Just totally unnecessary across the board. Unoriginal and unnecessary. Next thing that Rob's movies got wrong, the dialogue. Now, largely this is with the first movie. There's a handful of moments in the second one, but it's mostly with the first movie, and specifically in the first half of the first movie. Now, look, I'm not easily offended, okay? And it doesn't offend me. Like, I watched this movie as a teenager, didn't bother me. Watch it as an adult, it doesn't bother me. But it doesn't really feel real. Now, Rob did say that he wrote characters a lot in his movies based off of his experiences growing up. So I'm sure Rob actually probably did know some vile people like this, that spoke like this, that lived in environments like this. And that sucks that he had to experience that. At the same time, though, most of us don't have that experience. And even then, I feel like it's still played up. I think it's really over the top. William Forsythe, whether it's Judith's lines in the first one, it's just like, people don't talk like this. Like, they really, really don't. It's vulgarity for vulgarity's sake. Look, Rob is a shock artist in his music and his movies. It's what he does best. That's what he's trying to do. He is trying to offend you. And a lot of times he succeeds at that in effective ways. And then other times it's just like, this is just too much, man. And furthermore, I feel like sometimes Rob really plays it up because he doesn't necessarily trust his audience to get that, like, hey, these people really are despicable. This is a really bad environment. Trust me, Rob, we get it. And we don't need it to the extent that you do it up sometimes. Like, it's just a little bit overboard, a little bit too much. Doesn't offend me, but I totally understand why it does offend some people. It really just takes me out of it because it doesn't feel real. The next thing Rob Zombie's Halloween movies got wrong was giving Michael Myers a motive. Now, I'm not even saying the motive itself is bad, because I understand the impetus for it. Like, oh hey, Michael Myers in the original Halloween, there was no reason for why he did what he did. He was just a little kid that snapped. So Rob approaching this movie with, hey, what if we had an explanation? What if we gave Michael a backstory? What if we put him in an environment that we see a lot of kids come from these days? Totally understand that. I definitely do. Broken homes, unfortunately, are very common. And even more unfortunately, kids will come out of that broken home and sometimes commit acts of violence on themselves and other people. So I thought it was topical. I thought it was relevant and I liked it. However, it is inherently weakening the character of Michael Myers. It just is, whether you love or hate the explanation. Because Michael Myers is supposed to be a motiveless shape. He's not supposed to have a rhyme or reason. The issues with this franchise began for a lot of people with Halloween 2, when they gave him a reason. when they said that Laurie Strode was his sister. That immediately cheapened the character, whether you love or hate that. So to give Michael 45 minutes of a backstory where we see him as a kid talking to other people, where we see his home life, how bad it is, how bad the kids are to him at school, what he does to these people, him in the institution, it just inherently weakens the character. Now, for some people, that's not a problem. They don't mind the motive. They actually liked it. It was something different. And I do appreciate them. I give them credit for trying to do something different. But I just don't think it was necessary. And I think it honestly just cheapens the character of Michael Myers. Now, the next thing that I think he got wrong here, and I've already kind of mentioned this in different ways, but more specifically, Michael's childhood. And it's not just the dialogue, though we've talked about that. And it's not just giving him a motive, we've talked about that. It's even deeper than that. It's specific characters, specific interpersonal relationships in this household and throughout his life as a child that are really just problematic. Look, his sister Judith is horrible to him. Like, if that was my older sister, we'd have been throwing bows. Like, I'm telling you right now, because, like, she is a terrible person to him. His stepdad / mom's boyfriend, Ronnie, terrible human being. Like, absolutely terrible. His sister's boyfriend is rude to him. The kids at school are, like, over the top mean to him and gross to him. Like, there's just so much about his childhood where it's like, not only is it a problem that you're giving us an explanation, this childhood just feels so over the top. I know that some people, unfortunately, have probably had an upbringing like this. They have dealt with bullies like this. They have dealt with siblings like this. They have dealt with step-parents like this. That's probably true. But it's overwhelmingly the minority, and they're so bad that you're rooting for Michael Myers. And that is a problem in and of itself. We should never be rooting for this little kid to take up arms against all these people and turn into what he becomes. Now, if you want to root for Michael when he's an adult, because, oh, that's my favorite slasher boogeyman, great, awesome. But it's just a problem. The childhood as a whole, everything about it is problematic. The next problem with Rob's Halloween movies is the director's cuts, and specifically certain changes about them. Look, Rob is a director that always releases a director's cut, and it's usually the preferred version of the movie. He never gets the exact version he wants put out into theaters because studio heads would be like, no, we can't do that. This is too long, trim this down, yada yada. So I usually buy the director's cut. I find that in both of these movies, there is a ton added in the director's cut that I feel like strengthens the movie. And then you get to a specific scene in both movies where you go, I understand why this was the director's cut. That being the breakout scene in his first Halloween, which is just so over the top, so unnecessary, serves no purpose other than to shock, and it really, really is hard to sit through. Or, in Halloween 2, the different ending. Michael Myers talking, Laurie getting shot for no reason, just full of bullets for no reason. Like, what the hell? And the reason I mention this is because, one, a lot of people have seen the director's cuts. Because if you bought this on DVD or Blu-ray, it was probably that version. And you watched it and you were like, well, this is different. What? That's because that's the version that Rob has circulated widely. You have to search for the theatrical a lot of the time. And his director's cuts kind of take on a life of their own, and they become like the version of the movie that a lot of people think of. And in a lot of ways they are. But what's frustrating the most is that there are things changed in each movie, little things, but things that actually end up mattering. Like in Halloween 2, the director's cut specifically mentions that it's 2 years later. In his theatrical cut, no, it's 1 year later. In the director's cut, you actually get to see the frayed relationship of Laurie and Annie really play out on screen. And the theatrical cut, not really. No. And that was a mistake because those characters, for where they were at and where they were going to end up, it was necessary to see that frayed relationship even more than it's portrayed in the theatrical version. So I just feel like his director's cuts really muddy the waters sometimes. They make great decisions and they make terrible decisions. And the last thing that I think Rob's movies got wrong is focusing so much on the extreme sometimes and less on the suspense. Now, you heard me talk about in the kills portion of the first video that I love the brutality at moments in these movies, and I genuinely do. Rob's Michael Myers and Rob's Halloween movies are not your father's Halloween movies. They are different. This universe has a set tone, and you expect these things, so I do not have a problem with it. However, there are moments where with this character and in this franchise where you could have really dragged certain things out, Or you could have left some things to be inferred. You could have let the mind wander. You could have created suspense. But I don't think Rob is very good at that. I think Rob is very good at shocking and being extreme. I don't think he has the touch sometimes to really give suspenseful sequences. One I think about in particular is in his first Halloween movie, where Laurie's foster dad is outside smoking and Michael comes out of nowhere with a knife and gets him in the face and then takes him inside. That scene should have ended right there. And we should have seen the aftermath when Brackett is calling the house. We didn't need to see him carrying the photo of Laurie and going after Dee Wallace. Another scene I think of is the scene with Annie, where she's trying to run out of the house and he grabs her and slams the door. We should have also then seen the aftermath later on when she is discovered. We didn't need to see what took place afterwards. Now, I'm not saying they're bad scenes. They're not. But they're just playing up the extreme and the brutality. Those moments were set up to be suspenseful and to let the mind wander, and Rob didn't let us have that. So while I love the brutality at moments in these movies, there are times where I feel like it hinders the movie. There should have been more focus on suspense and less on the extreme. But look guys, those are just some things that I think Rob Zombie's Halloween movies got wrong. I'm not saying everything about these movies is great. I'm not saying these are the only things you can complain about. These are just the ones that came to mind that I have an issue with, that I feel like most people can agree to a certain extent they're not great. But I want to hear down below in the comment section what you guys think they got wrong. Do you think I nailed it? Again, remember, I'm not going to pinpoint specific characters. Like, that's just not really a thing. If you're like, I hate Loomis in H2. But leave a like on this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Nick at the Lost River Drive-In, and I'm pulling out.